See a little crystal ball action. What are you forecasting on this Friday morning?
Oh, well, for me, I want to forecast that the Pittsburgh Steelers find a way to win. What we saw from Terrell Austin's defense, What we saw from Terrell Austin's defense last week was phenomenal. He had a great game plan. He understood how he'd be attacked. And I felt like, to me, in my opinion, we've seen so much good from a guy like Are you talking to me? Okay, yeah. I'm going to get. We've seen so much good from a guy like Aaron Rodgers. And so now I want them to win the AFC North. And in order to do that, they have to find a way to win this week against the Chargers with 2 games left against the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, way to go, Miss Cleo.
That's a fascinating game. Peter, give me a Friday forecast as we see JJ McCarthy taking on the Rams.
I've got the Vikings beating the Ravens. And I don't know if it's JJ McCarthy who does it or his alter ego, 9. I don't know if he saw that. He says he goes into a different mode when they need him most. And he changes personalities. Well, they're at home. This is a huge win last week in Detroit. You talked about Miss Cleo. I'm going to go with more Oz the Mentalist with that Michigan connection. This is it. I think JJ finds a way in Minnesota.
What are the right things to say about JJ McCarthy? I feel like I constantly need to remind people. He has played 3 games.
Right.
So this would be the equivalent of a rookie playing the last week of September, but he's doing it with the ultimate microscope.
This is the biggest gamble that any organization has taken in a long time. Remember, they had Daniel Jones and they had Sam Darnold in the building. They went out and said, we don't need any insurance. We believe in JJ McCarthy. And the guy that's taking the biggest hit is Justin Jefferson, who's one of the best receivers in the league, but he doesn't have a quarterback that's sophisticated enough right now to be able to read defenses and be able to take advantage of this great roster that they have.
We also have to be fair to JJ McCarthy, though, right? Like, we can't cast aspersions and say this is who he is and who he will be. We got to watch Caleb Williams for an entire year start to build and become himself. Right. We got to see the same thing for Drake May. JJ McCarthy doesn't. And I get it. His microscope is bigger because of what Daniel Jones is doing in Indianapolis, because of what Sam Darnold is doing in Seattle. But when you decide to pick him in the top 10, you basically make that decision for yourself. Yeah. And Sam Darnold had played well enough where he wasn't going to sit around and wait for JJ McCarthy to take his position.
It's also a sign of respect when you think about it, because in Atlanta, no one cares about the Penix Cousins thing because they're not winning. Minnesota is respected, so that's why there's the
difference is Minnesota, out of all these other quarterbacks you mentioned, is the only team that if they had Sam Darnold on their team right now, we would say that they are Super Bowl front runners. That's the problem. Everybody's ready to win a Super Bowl, but maybe the quarterback is the only thing that can hold them back.
What can he possibly do to erase that? What could he possibly do for us to say?
He has to raise.
He has to be better than Darnold? Last week he went into Detroit and found a way.
Man, he threw for 140. Found a way. The
3rd and 5. He made the play.
Oh,
it's about for JJ McCarthy, and this is my opinion. For JJ McCarthy, it's not about how much he wins. It's not about bringing his team to an NFC championship. It's about showing growth. It's about showing that you can be the franchise quarterback. This team doesn't win a Super Bowl this year, period. You can watch them play, and you know that. And so last week, even last week was an anomaly because this is what happened. Brian Flores figured out if I can get Jahmyr Gibbs to stay in the backfield and block, I can win. So he brought inside pressure. That was about Brian Flores, not JJ McCarthy. How many times can you do that down the stretch?
All right, it's an interesting one because to your point, that they are measuring him the way we measure some of the other rookies, but he's in a different situation than they are. That isn't his making, but it is his lot in life. Let's keep going with Friday forecasts because we got a couple of young quarterbacks this weekend. Bart, what are you forecasting?
Well, I'm looking into my Magic 8 Ball, and I'm saying that, listen, Jackson Dart is doing more with less than any other young quarterback in the NFL. I think it's not a lot to be happy about in New York, but this is one of the things. He has had a bright future. He may save some jobs when you think about Shane, you think about Dayball, because he's just that talented. On the other side, Caleb Williams has everything that you can ask for as a quarterback, and he's underwhelming us.
All right, Ravens, I find this a confounding spread. JJ McCarthy is 2-0 outright in his young career as the betting underdog. He's played a total of 3 games, so take that for what it's worth. What should I take away from this number?
Stop looking at the record. The record is not who Baltimore is. The power ranking is who Baltimore is. This is a much better team than the record indicates, number 1. Number 2, 10 days to get ready for this game. Number 3, there's not a lot of faith in JJ McCarthy right now, especially when it comes to the betting market. He's winning games, yes, but the win against Chicago, the numbers were terrible outside of the 4th quarter. The game last week against Detroit, that Lions offensive line fell apart. And the thing with the Lions, if everything isn't running perfectly, Goff's never going to bail you out. You saw it again last week.
I think that's unfair to what they did. Joe, honestly, they went into Detroit.
It's a good
very
win,
hostile
how much
environment.
Of it was McCarthy?
McCarthy was when it mattered most, 3rd and 5, hits the play.
But they won the game. I mean, I hear what you're saying, whether it's McCarthy or not. So now we're having two different conversations.
Correct.
One of them is about JJ McCarthy. Let's table that for a minute. We're putting the picks on the screen. That's an impressive win for Minnesota.
I think it was impressive. I think they're at home. I also think we look at the box score, and I mentioned this earlier in the show. We look at the numbers of what the Ravens did last week. We say, oh, well, they blew out Miami. They're back. They really struggled in that first half against a bad Dolphins team, and now I say they're going into Minnesota. Let's just not crown the Ravens just yet.
Final thoughts.
Well, listen, the Ravens are starting to figure it out. Like, we talk about the biggest and most important piece that they got back was Patrick Ricard, because he opens up everything. He's the eyes for Derrick Henry. He's also a guy that gives you crazy personnel issues. And now with Kyle Hamilton being able to be the chess piece, he'll probably be over TJ Hawkinson this week. They can use him to take away what you do best.
We've seen JJ McCarthy play 2 good quarters and a throw.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so what are you going to do against this defense that's now become so much more multiple since they acquired Alohi Gilman? And I don't care how it looked in the first half. What we saw from Lamar Jackson in the second half with his ability to pass from the pocket, use the play action game, and then now a week and a half healthier, I expect the Baltimore Ravens to play extremely well.
They have Exit West, obviously, coming off that Thursday game. Really interesting game. It's a great weekend of NFL. Let's continue here with a moment with the Chiefs. They had a very quiet trade to Indianapolis Colts. So give me a mathematical equation. The Colts plus extra sauce equals what?
Super Bowl contender, and not just a team that can get to the Super Bowl, a team that can win the Super Bowl. They obviously feel this way because the way Daniel Jones has performed in this offense, along with Jonathan Taylor, Alec Pierce, also Pittman Jr., and obviously Tyler Warren being an absolute stud at the tight end position. Lou Anarumo has done a great job with this defense that's lost a ton of players this year, but now you add Sauce, a true number 1, and the versatility along with Charvarius Ward returning is huge.
But it allows you to take away what a team does best, and it allows Lou to be able to identify what matchups you want to exploit. And really, Lou was brought in there for one team, and that's for the Kansas City Chiefs. And they know they're on a collision course, and he identified Sauce as a piece that he wants to try and win a championship.
So there are a lot of people, there are a lot of Jet fans. It's become kind of fashionable to dump on Sauce Gardner a little bit. A lot of penalties. He started his career so extraordinarily good. I'll remind everyone who doesn't know, Bart, you cover them every single day. You do the post-game show and all that stuff. Just how good a player are the Indianapolis Colts getting?
I think they're getting a tremendous player. I think they give a guy that was asked to do certain things under a solid system. He wasn't asked to travel. He proved that he could travel. Now, he struggled. He's given up a couple of big plays. Really, his physicality is what hurt him this year. I think being able to come up and make tackles and set the edge as teams are trying to force him to tackle. I think he has to show that up. But you talk about his defense ratings. He's like a 6'3" corner that can match up with all these big guys, and he's a guy that's elite. You don't just become two-time All-Pro by mistake, and he's still young and getting better.
I would note that the Jets were not shopping Sauce Gardner by any means.
Right.
The Jets liked Sauce Gardner. This was one of those Godfather deals where Chris Ballard kept on offering more and more and more. and the Jets actually got more in compensation for Sauce Gardner than what the Cowboys got for Micah Parsons.
Right.
So that tells you what they value in that.
If you like A.D. Mitchell, who I think sort of
I think that's big, what the Jets got. But also, I think a lot of people dump on Sauce because he started so excellent. Right. And you're expecting a guy to get better and better and better, but everybody has a cap, or everyone has a ceiling. And for Sauce Gardner, you were expecting this exponential growth from a dude that walked in as one of the best corners in all of the NFL.
I think the Jet fans, candidly, have been spoiled by watching Darrelle Revis, and they thought, oh, we got the next Revis.
But he did something that even Revis never did. Two-time All-Pro your first 2 years is tremendous, especially dealing with what he had on the other side of the ball.
All right, so the Colts make the big trade. The Chiefs didn't. So my next RC Rewind is, do you think the Chiefs missed an opportunity this week?
Absolutely, the Chiefs missed an opportunity. When you played the Buffalo Bills and realized that when the Buffalo Bills are at their best, there is nothing that you could do with them. You couldn't get to Josh Allen. Josh Allen was basically perfect last week against the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's because they can't create pressure. Chris Jones is no longer the one-man wrecking crew that he used to be, so now Steve Spagnuolo has to commit extra people to the rush in order to put pressure on the quarterback, and Josh Allen went absolutely crazy. If you want to win, you got to stop the Allens, you got to stop the Lamar Jacksons, and without a pass rush, you can't do that.
But I wasn't disappointed because they didn't get to Josh Allen. What I was disappointed about is they couldn't exploit a leaky Buffalo Bills rush defense that opportunity to go get Breece Hall, who would have completed the entire puzzle. You talk about how do you beat Lamar Jackson, how you beat Josh Allen by keeping their ass on the bench because I got time of possession and I'm moving the chains. I think that was the biggest loss, that they decided not to come off a 4th-round draft pick. They want to come on a 3rd-round draft pick to get Breece to close the deal.
What do you think, Peter?
We'll see if it haunts them or not. I think a lot of people thought they were going to make a move for a running back here because at the end of that game, and no shade to any of those players, you're dealing with Kareem Hunt, Pacheco, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and it doesn't seem like they have the same pop that they used to in the last championship runs. But they are 10 toes down. They are with their guys, and they are not making a move for running
Peter,
back.
how much of that is we've been there and done that?
I think it is that.
Like, we've found ways to win when people think we're lacking.
No doubt. And that was at the wide receiver spot last year. Everyone thinks that we need this, we need that, we need this.
But
we're going to roll with our guys.
The feel has improved. It's different. What happened last year, what you could do last year, doesn't mean you can do it this year.
Chiefs remain the toughest team to pick against. All right, last one, RC. Do you believe your buddy Dan Orlovsky said?
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay mình hướng dẫn các bạn là chiếc túi với hai màu xám và xanh dương nhé. Bây giờ mình sẽ bắt đầu làm nha. video nhé. Nhưng mà trong chị vào Facebook này không có á. Đấy. Màu này được không? Thì anh có thể chỉ em thấy màu này đẹp. Nhìn lên là đỏ hơn ở ngoài. Vâng.